everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Alicia Jackson, licensed professional counselor. Today we are reviewing Married at First Sight, season 16, episode 17. Ooh, this season just keeps trucking along. Here at this channel, we do a therapeutic review. We utilize the model internal family systems to get a real view of what's motivating these behaviors, learn a little bit about communication, couples, and potentially learn a little bit about ourselves. If you are returning, welcome back. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get started. First, we have Eris and Jasmine. Now, Eris and Jasmine are separated as Eris had a mandatory meeting for work. And so Eris is like, man, this house feels empty. Jasmine's not here. Duchess isn't here. He's missing them. And Jasmine's like, I am. I'm starting to miss Eris. And I wish he could be here, but I'm going to be the seventh wheel and play along. All the couples went to this like lumberjacking thing, which I did not expect it to be to like the level of like these extreme sports lumberjacking that they have. They have like these tournaments that I've seen when I was watching TV with my dad when I was little. But that's what was happening. They had to like scale these huge poles up and down. And so everybody tried to do it. And Jasmine, as she did the episode before where she did the rock climbing, she went the highest, right? And so there's a part of us like, man, I wish Eris was here to see this, because maybe he's seeing me and my action, and I've got my the harness on, that he maybe would be more attracted to me. So we see like there's a part of Jasmine that really wants Eris to want her. She's still in it. Like, so now that the walls have kind of came down a little bit, we're hearing her call him husband again, and she's talking about him. He's coming up a lot, even though he's not present there. There's a part of her that wants this, and I have to say there's a part of me that is concerned about that, just because Eris hasn't given her a lot of action, which she talked about with the couples. They had split up as they were still at the lumberjacking space, and she said, yeah, I really appreciate what he shared and what he said last night. It really touched me, and that was nice, but I want action. Like, I want you to want me. And she has Shaquille as an amen corner, but she really still wants that effort and that motivation from Eris to know that he's really in it. And I can't blame her. Especially for, again, the start of their marriage. She needs to know for sure that she's not going to be the only person in this and working as hard as she is. And so Eris is on his way back, right, to the couple's ranch, and they connect, right? There was a hug. I was looking at the hug to see like what's happening there, and it was a nice hug. It wasn't something that felt like warm and endearing. Maybe it hasn't gotten to that space yet, and it just was like, hey, how you doing kind of hug. And so Eris talked about the meeting, how he met someone that was pretty high up, and that was exciting to happen. And then he also talked about, like, indirectly, that he missed her. Said he missed her hair on the floor. And at the after party, he was talking about how that's something that really annoys him. So he was surprised that it was something that he missed about her. And I wish there was a part of me that was just like hoping for him to be a little bit more vulnerable, but baby steps, to say, I missed you. I really feel like it would have came from a more sincere place, instead of Jasmine kind of say, oh, you missed me? It's like, yeah, I missed the whole, the whole scene with the family. Like, so he was really hesitant to say, like, I missed you. I missed sleeping next to you last night. Like, really being open about that, right? And it's kind of minimized it a little bit. There was a part of him that minimized it, saying, well, I missed, just, we've been doing this for a while, so I've grown accustomed to this, right? So him minimizing the feelings of even him missing her, which makes sense as to the trauma he's experienced with his father and also his friend who unalived himself. So he does have this part of him, right, that doesn't want to get attached to people, that doesn't want to miss people, right? And so him having those feelings of missing her, that could be right, activating. The way trauma shows up is sometimes, if it's even something that's familiar, it doesn't have to be the same exact situation. It can be something that even is familiar, or a remnant, a sound, anything that is even close. It's like the brain almost generalizes something, right, as a potential trigger, and will respond in that way. And so him minimizing that definitely could be a protector to kind of say, like, we don't really miss Jasmine. We miss the routine, that's what we miss. But I'm getting the sense that he missed her. Now I will say though, as they're playing Connect Four on this like giant thing, and sharing like what happened, you saw Jasmine like really wanted some affirmation from Eris. Like she was like, yeah, I was the person who got the highest up on when I was climbing up the log. He was like, yeah, but I just beat you in Connect Four. So there was like a miss, and he's coming in trying to create conversation. I really get the sense that a part of him doesn't feel confident in doing that and relies on the humor. What I've talked about that in episodes prior. And so not being able to catch the nugget that Jasmine was trying to throw him, like, babe, look at you. Like, I'm really proud. Like, well, you showed me up in rock climbing, so I knew you could do that. Like some kind of affirmation, encouragement. That's what she was looking for in that moment. It was a miss. And then she beat him in the next round of Connect Four. Their conversation is still kind of jarring a little bit. It doesn't flow naturally, yet there's still this like awkwardness that's happening there. As the couples get ready to go back to their homes, leaving the retreat, they have a group dinner, last little group dinner, and Jasmine, she pulls out this game for questions game, and I was a little concerned because she said, yeah, we play these question games and it was good for us. And I was like, is that the game that Eris was like, these people, it's going to lead people to divorce? I was like, maybe not with everybody. But this game has some interesting questions. It was asking for Eris and Jasmine, their question was, what's the hardest part, or what's the hardest for them right now? And so Eris said that he felt like what's hard for Jasmine is her opening up, which we've been talking about that for a minute now. And Jasmine said that what she feels is the hardest for Eris is that he's always looking for the bad, right? Which that is usually what happens when you've experienced a lot of trauma, and that you have a part of you that's hyper vigilant around any potential dangers. And it's hard to maintain calm. It's hard to maintain a space where you feel safe, because there is this part of you that's making sure that you're not caught off guard, that you're not caught unaware. And that is a trauma response. And so for Jasmine to even notice that, and Eris didn't shy away from it. He was like, that is right. I'm okay. I can work on that. Maybe that's something he can explore with his therapist as he's open and he's in therapy. Again, my view from this couple truly is that, man, Jasmine has it. She has it. She has to, of course, do some fine tuning with working on healthy communication, and working on making sure her goals and her needs are met. And I'm seeing some of that, like, hey, I still need to see some more stuff from you. I need to see some more stuff from you. And she does in the next 7 days, which, okay. And Eris though, he has a lot of growing to do. And so that's up to Jasmine. We know she has this part of her that's going to stick and stay. But it's up to Jasmine to see if she's going to have enough patience for his maturation, for him to be able to have the skills to show up for her. That's a long time going without your needs met from your husband. And so it's something for Jasmine to consider. Do I feel like this couple is going to make it to decision day, or is going to say yes on decision day? I feel that Jasmine's in this. I don't know if Eris is going to say yes. I feel like Jasmine is going to say yes. And if she goes first, and that's concerning me. That's concerning me just for her, right? For her. Eris, he did say, though, at the after party that he does not want to go back in these streets. He said it's treacherous in the streets. And so he's really trying to make it work with his wife. So a part of me really believes him. A part of me does. And I am hopeful, right? Hopeful for that sincerity. And at the same time, I don't know if it's going to be enough for him to say a yes. So we shall see. Next, we have Clint and Gina. And so we get back, from the after party, the 80s party, when they're celebrating his birthday, and he is out of it. Clint's got a hangover, and he's trying to nurse himself, and Gina's taking care of him. And yeah, Clint, he has a great time partying. He's the life of a party, and so it's his birthday. He chose to celebrate it, right? And so we do hear, though, that at the lumberjacking event, right? So Gina gets up there. She's the one who got beat by Jasmine. And Clint said he couldn't do it because he said the room was still spinning. He didn't want to douse the pole with champagne. And so they're separated and they're talking with the other couples. And Clint is saying he's hopeful. He's like, we're still not there yet, but I'm going to continue to move in this direction, and if things continue to blossom, like, if, who knows, we might be more attracted to each other, but I'm still, like, there's some things there's some stuff that's there, right? And so Gina on the other side is I don't know, Clint, he drinks a lot, and he gets hungover, and I don't know if she's like, that's not something she finds attractive, right? And there's no judgment about, like, her not finding that attractive. That's a preference for her. And so that's something for her to talk about with Clint. Now, at the after party, we find out that that's something that she has not talked about with Clint. And we know this isn't the first time Clint's had too much to drink when they had the moonshine tasting. Like, this is the first time. And so that's something for her to really be honest and open, right, with Clint about if this is something she wants to really work. Now, if she's made a decision that that's not, then okay. It also seems, though, that they are both so tentative with each other, so tentative in how they speak with each other, and they're still, I'm so convinced that there's a part of them that's like waiting for the other person, right? So Gina's saying, like, he hasn't showed up for me, right? He hasn't made me feel like a wife. I haven't seen him give me words of affirmation or make me feel appreciated or make me feel wanted, to make me feel connected to him. And Clint, in response to this on the after party, said, well, I haven't felt like a husband either. Like, I have been on the outside. Like, she has made a clear divide, right? And so they're both feeling each other's walls and trying to see are you going to let me over to see if we can really make this work, right? And so Gina had an issue with an employee who quit via text message, and so she's heartbroken because she poured a lot into this person professionally for a whole year. And so Clint really showed up for her. Clint showed up for Gina. She's tearful. And he said, man, that really sucks. Like, he's in there with her. He's not invalidating her. He's not dismissing her. He's really in it and knowing and recognizing how this is painful for Gina. And for me, that's him showing up. At least, even if it's not as a partner, but as someone who's going to be with her through the rough stuff, right? And so Gina did say she really appreciated that. She appreciated his words of comfort, of support, and even of advice. And so she's saying that's giving her some hope. That's what in the moment, that's what she said in the confessional. I want to see more. Like, I'm not convinced that Gina is really going to push through, to really see what's happening. She did say, though, that when the couples were together, that man, seeing Dominique and McKinley call it quits so easily, that her and Clint choosing to stay, choosing to be here, that's the harder thing. Yes. It's the harder thing to do. Absolutely. I think in the traditional sense of dating someone, getting married, coming together, divorce is hard, marriage is hard. They're both hard. Married at first sight is a little different. You don't know each other. You've been together for 2 weeks. I'm out of here, right? And maybe grieving what you were expecting to happen versus what did happen. But Gina's right in this space of, yes, staying together. That's the harder thing to do. I would even give her another further, like assignment further, to say one step closer would be to allow yourselves to just be with each other and see, right? That's the hard thing, to pull down those defenses, right? And allow yourself to be more open with him, or even saying, like, hey, since the honeymoon, I've been like reluctant to be honest with you because I don't want us to go through that again. Like, just starting with that level of vulnerability, because I feel like that's in the room with them. That's in the shared apartment when they're in separate spaces, right? That's in the room with them while they're here at this retreat, and they're not speaking to it, but it's there and it's causing the distance. And so when you name it, you can be able to address it. During the group dinner and the questions that Jasmine provided for the couples afterwards, their question was, one thing that they feel hurts, that they do that hurts the other person. And Gina was like, I don't think that you've done anything to hurt me per se. She said, I just feel like you are a man of many words. I really liked how she stated this. Like, you're a man of many words, and I would like for you to, when you're talking to me, to talk to me from a space of like me understanding you versus talking to be heard. I will say that that's nice for her to say to him, like to give him that information. However, too, Gina can also show up and ask clarifying questions to show she's interested, show she's trying to understand him. And because if he's just talking, how will he know that she doesn't understand what he's saying? Or what he's trying to communicate? Like, tell me what you mean by that. Okay, what I'm hearing is this. Is that what you're trying to say? I really want to know what you're trying to communicate. That's showing interest. That's pulling closer towards him, right? And so Clint, he stated that, Gina, you're on your phone a lot. You're like on your phone a lot. And I get it. But sometimes I'm just like, put down the phone. Again, something that Clint could say to Gina in the moment. So there's a lot of unspoken things that are being left unaddressed. Because the phone thing, that's something that's kind of small that they can really address with each other. And yet it's like 7 weeks and it hasn't been addressed. And it's still a barrier. It's another barrier that she's putting up, whether she's conscious of it or not. That's a barrier that she's putting up as a wall between her and Clint, right? And two, Clint's communication and her not understanding, right? And her not seeking the clarification. She just saying, oh, well, I didn't understand what he was trying to say. I don't know. Like, that's another wall. There's a lot of walls between them that have not been addressed, right? This is where these couples need more help. All right. And so they talk about how they're feeling about decision day. And, I know that with Clint and Gina, I don't see them saying yes on decision day. I truly don't. it's a pity, right? I feel like there are some things that really could have been massaged and worked with this couple, but it didn't, right? So we're here, but no, I don't feel like at this point they're going to say yes on decision day. Next, we have Shaquille and Kirsten. And so Kirsten and Shaquille are going out with Nicole and Chris to do these like saloon photos, which is really cool. And the girls are talking and the boys are talking as they're getting dressed. And so Nicole is talking about her plans after decision day and saying, have you guys started planning after decision day? And she said, no. She said, right now we're at a space where we're still deciding if we're going to say yes on decision day. That's just where we are. Our communication, it's just not where it is, and it's really frustrating, and I really want him to spend more time with me. He doesn't, and I'm at a place now, like watching this where I'm like, I want to watch the footage of them trying to communicate. Like, I'm tired of the edited cameras. I want to know what's happening in their communication. I want to know, because, it just, what Kirsten says and what Shaquille says, it just doesn't line up. It just doesn't make sense, right? We have Shaquille in the dressing room saying that he stays up to 3 o'clock in the morning, that her asking questions, getting to know him, and he's like, I gotta go to work, so I gotta go to bed, which is true, right? And Kirsten said at the after party that this only happened maybe like 2 or 3 times, and I get it, like, yes, that's maybe a lot in their short span of time of knowing each other, and at the same time, at the beginning of a relationship, it's like this excitement, and maybe there's not an excitement to make this connection work, and that's what's causing all these like communication barriers, or the lack of expectations being met, not feeling wanted, not feeling important enough to each other, because there's not the want to, the desire to, and that's what's being unsaid, right? Because it just, with the information they're both saying, it just doesn't, to me, it just, 1 + 1 does not equal 2 in this situation for me. Later at the lumberjacking event, Kirsten and Shaquille, they have their run, and to do the pole exercise, right? And then they're talking separately with the different couples, and Shaquille is being Jasmine's amen corner, saying like, for Kirsten, he doesn't want her to do this as a result of a request of duress. Like, okay, you want me to come to all your work events, let me pull out my calendar, put everything on there. He's like, no, I want you to want to do that. I want you to want that to be like, oh, you having a work event? Okay, I want to be there to support you. He wants that to be her desire. And Kirsten is saying on the flip side that she is a very supportive person. However, the connection, right? She said this to the day that they spoke with the experts, that her connection is conditional. Like, she needs to feel closer to him in order to have that support, that natural support coming towards him. And that's the missing piece. I want to know what the issue is with the connection. There's a part of me that has a hypothesis about it, because I know Shaquille can sometimes use these one-liners. She talked about it in like the earlier episodes, where she's saying like sometimes she feels like he's talking at her and not talking to her. Shaquille does have this part of him that wants to impress, likes to appear a certain way, right? And so there's a part of me that's like, is that why it's so important for her to be, by your side, because of the appearance of what that looks like? But also, when the groups were talking, they're talking about marriage and talking about the being present in the moment, how that's so important, and you have to live for today. And you can't be focused on the future and be thinking about what can go bad in the future, but you have to be where your feet are. That's what Kirsten said, right? And so then everybody's like, yeah, be where your feet are. And then Shaquille says, yeah, because there's a blessing in the lesson. And I'm like, okay, like that wasn't really meeting where they were, right? But it's like there was a part of him that wanted to say, I have something important to say, like something meaningful to say in that moment. And, they responded in jokingly, saying he was being a preacher at that moment. But maybe that is what Kirsten is speaking to about the disconnect in their communication, because I even watched Kirsten's expressions when he said that. She like smirked a little bit as to say, here you go, right? That's kind of the energy I got from that she wants him to be vulnerable in that space, right? To say, yeah, like I'm concerned. I'm concerned about the future too and what it's going to hold, because we're still having these clashes so late in the game. Like it's 7 days until decision day, right? But he's in this moment. What's most concerning to him is looking good with the couples, as he even talked about that with Chris when they were in the room changing clothes. He said, you and Nicole are doing so great. Like, what's going on with you guys? Because, everything, we look at you like, oh, Chris and Nicole, but we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, right? So there's a part of him that's saying, are we the only ones struggling? Like, is there something wrong with me because I'm struggling? Like that's what I'm hearing when Shaquille is speaking up in these moments with the other couples, that there's this insecurity there. There's this part of him that wants people to see him as successful, wants people to see him in a way of like, oh, we went through this exercise, we went through this married at first sight thing, and we were successful. And so there's a part of him that's now concerned about how he's going to be viewed, because they're in a space where they still don't understand, or they don't know, they're unsure. And so he's talking to Kirsten on the ledge, and they're talking, and he's like trying to understand what Kirsten is needing, because she said, we just need more deep conversations. And he said, we have conversations all the time. Like, we have conversations all the time. And she said, you feel that way? And he said, yeah. She's like, well, sometimes we do, but there's still more we need to know from each other. And he's like, well, I feel like I can get to know you just from like watching you and observing you. Like, I'm learning you that way. And she said, okay, well, that works for you, but that doesn't work for me. Like, I need to really talk and get to know you. And I just want to be a fly on the wall while they're having these conversations, to see what the disconnect is, and to see if he's coming in from a space of like, coming from these lines, these platitudes, and not really speaking from Shaquille, right? If he still has this part of him that's concerned about how Kirsten's going to see him, and not really truly being upfront and vulnerable with her. That's what I potentially feel is the disconnect, right? I also am curious if they've still maintained their physical intimacy. They said they did it once, right? I'm curious if that's still happening. Their body language doesn't seem that way. I don't see many hugs or kisses or any kind of closeness that's happening. So there feels like there's like a pulling outward from each other, and that's concerning. That's really concerning. Kirsten said it. Kirsten said, I don't want our marriage to be a struggle. And so she's in a space where she feels like she's doing so much work and feels like it's supposed to, and there is a thought out there that there needs to be like a ease, like some type of ease there, and maybe it's the want to that's missing, right? That's making the ease bumpy, right, in their connection. So they're packing up as Shaquille is excited. Shaquille's excited that Kirsten wants to leave early with him because he has to go to a school event, right? So he is happy about that. Kirsten said, yeah, I'm sad. I'm sad to leave a day early, but I want to be there with you. Okay, so we're moving a little bit. And so then they play this game, the game with Jasmine and the cards. Now, if this is any indicator as to the break in their communication, then I understand, right? So the question said, what is your favorite imperfection about each other, right? That was the question. Did either of them answer that question? No, they didn't. Shaquille said that Kirsten, in the moment, sometimes when they have a conflict, she gets overwhelmed. She's like, it's too much for me. And now she takes a moment, she breathes through it, and she, helps to process it and work through it. That's where she's grown in the relationship. Is that his favorite imperfection? It didn't really seem like the answer fit the question. For Kirsten, she said that Shaquille's been working to be more attentive and listening to her and really hearing what she has to say. Does that answer the question to you? Help me. Does that answer the question to you? It doesn't answer the question to me. And I feel like they're both not being honest. All right, they don't even feel safe enough in their relationship to share what their imperfections are without affirming each other. That's what I'm seeing, right, in answering this question. And then there's a miss of they're not even answering the question, right? So a favorite imperfection could be like, Shaquille, you take so long getting ready. Like, how many bow ties are you going to try on? Like, I get it, but I really appreciate how you really care about how you look and how you present yourself to the world. But man, okay, you take so long. Like, that's a favorite imperfection. Or Kirsten, like Shaquille could say, like, when you're really nervous and you're playing with your fingernails and it just looks so cute. Like, that's a favorite imperfection. That's how you answer that question. But that can even give even more of a clue, is that there may be things that they don't like about each other, they're not saying, or there may be some things that they're struggling to find to like about each other, right? We know that Shaquille's attracted to Kirsten. I don't know that Kirsten's attracted to Shaquille. I know she's feeling a huge disconnect, and I don't know if that's a part of it either. So she said it's grown. I don't know if it started at a 0, if it's just at a 2. Like, where is it? And they're pulling apart. They're not really joining, right? And so they're concerned about decision day. They're concerned about the still communication, connection issues, and really the expectations that they have that aren't being met. So do I think they're going to say yes on decision day? No. Shaquille might, but I don't feel like Kirsten is, especially just reading her body language this episode. Absolutely not. Last, we have Nicole and Chris. And so Nicole and Chris, as they are getting ready, and they are getting ready for their pictures, Nicole is like, man, Chris and I still haven't came to a conclusion about this living situation, and we're trying to find a place. And so Kirsten's saying, well, okay, maybe you guys just need to wait, until you find a spot where all of you can live that you like. And Nicole said, that's kind of where Chris is, but I'm like, I need an answer. So this is part of her that is distressed about it. And I'm curious if it's like the fact that it's not being resolved is her feeling then like, oh, are you delaying our housing situation so that you can maybe say no on decision day, right? That, like, this part of her that really needs this reassurance. And it's also like, I get to like not wanting to live apart, absolutely, and there's a way that this can be easily fixed too, right? Like being able to stay at your space, we stay at our space, like we switch spaces, but we still make it work, right? And so Nicole is her boas in a tussle, right, about this. And for Chris, he's saying like, we're gonna do this. Like, I'm seeing that Nicole really gets worked up about some things, and I'm really trying to like be with her in the moment to help her just realize, that it doesn't have to be talked over and over again. Like, we can talk about it. It could be done and settled. And so, yeah, Nicole is struggling with this area, absolutely, because she continues to bring this up throughout the episode, right? And so they do go and have a moment away from the couples and do mini golf, right? And so as they're doing mini golf, Nicole is getting a bit agitated, right? She's like, okay, I'm not doing well. I'm a very competitive person, right? And so when I hear people say that I'm a very competitive person, that means that they've attached some meaning. There's a part of them that's attached some meaning to losing, okay? And that, like, if I lose, that means X, Y, and Z about me. I'm not good enough. I'm not, right? So, and she's having a moment because she's struggling putt golf. She said, usually that's why I don't do things that I don't do well, because I like to win. Okay. And so she is struggling, and Chris is trying to really keep a cool head. And at the same time, I see the wheels on the bus, and they are about to fall off the bus. Okay. As Chris is saying, yeah, it's taking a lot of work for me, for us to do mini golf. So we probably won't be doing mini golf anymore, right? Emotional labor for him to be the centered one as she's come unraveled, right? And she's very open and honest. She knows she has some work to do, and at the same time, though, Nicole has to show up for herself in these moments. And what I will say, though, is that Nicole is aware. Like she's saying, this is when I stop playing the game. And I usually, and I have in the past, just, threw the Monopoly board over the table. Like I have in those moments. And he said, just breathe through it. Like it's okay. It's just putt golf. And so he doesn't understand, though, that there's meaning attached to losing at putt golf for Nicole. For a part of her, that there's meaning attached to that. And that doesn't have anything to do, right, with Chris and who he is. It has everything to do with Nicole. And so we see that Chris is starting to, like, slowly but surely lose the patience. And Nicole, we see that part of her that feels unlovable come up again and say, well, this is the risk, right? This is what you get when you get married at first sight. Like, you get me. Like, so are you going to be able to handle it? Are you going to deal with it, right? You want to leave? Do you want to leave? That part's still there. That part is still there, right? And so, Nicole. Nicole and Chris. I really feel like some honest communication needs to happen with this couple ASAP. Where Chris needs to talk about, and I know he fears, he has a fear of hurting her feelings. She already has this part of her that's already so hard on herself. And so he's like, if I say something to her about how I'm experiencing her, then that's going to trigger her, activate her, and she's going to start to shame herself. And he doesn't want to do that. He does not want to do that. That's the last thing he wants to do, is that's going to probably be something that triggers him, as he is, right? He's trying to show up to be the man that his mother deserved. Remember, right? So they're in this situation where things are being unsaid, and steam is coming out of Chris's ears at this point. Okay, steam is coming out of Chris's ears at this point. And so we're at the situation where they're at the dinner with the couples. They're playing the card game and the question game, and they talk about, hey, what is the thing you love about me the best, and what's the thing about that you least like about me? And so Chris said, hey, the fact that you're so hard on yourself, like, man, I really wish you weren't. And so then she said, okay, now what do you love about me? Like, tell me. And he said, the fact that you're so caring, you're so compassionate. Of course, I truly love that about you. And everybody was giving Chris kudos, because even his least thing was still sweet. That's Chris. That's that part of him that's going to be up front, right? It's really going to be up front. I think if Chris were to cause harm to someone, that would just send him into this downward spiral where he would then put himself, his childlike part of himself would put himself in the same category as those men who have hurt his mother, right? And that's some work that Chris needs to do, okay? And so that's why even his least, the thing he liked about Nicole least, was sweet, right? And so Nicole, she said, the thing that I want you to work on is for you to show up for you. I don't want you to sacrifice your happiness for other people's happiness. Like, you look out for you and make sure you are taking care of you. Okay. And then she said what she loved about him is the fact that he's always making everybody feel so comfortable. Well, yeah, because he's always making sure everybody's okay, not him. All right. And so then, on the flip side, on one scene, we see Nicole saying, do what you want to do, honor yourself. They get in the room, they're packing up, they're talking about the living situation, and this part of her is still unsettled. Hey, what about our living situation? I just want to know. He said, we already discussed this. Yes, I will. We're going to have a conversation. This is going to be settled before decision day. We already came to this conclusion. So we're going to do it before decision day. He said, yeah, we already said that. Did you see the frustration on his face? Did you see it? That there's this part of him, right? This caretaker that has been providing this emotional labor that is fatigued. It's fatigued. And understandably. And so this is where honesty and transparency need to show up and vulnerability need to show up. But there's so much fear. There's so much fear in them being honest with each other that's really hindering their growth. They're growing at a nice pace, but it's for them to really go to a space where their relationship is going to continue to progress. They have to hit real conflict. They have to hit real conflict and bounce back from it and be able to be there with each other through the conflict, right? And not attack each other and pull away from each other. That's how their relationship can really, really grow. Okay, but Chris is reassuring with her, like, we said we're going to do this. That's what we said. And so she said, okay, all right, now we got that out of the clear. Can we wear these like costumes to breakfast just to be cute? As Chris is cooking breakfast again, and so he's like, no. She said, please, just like, why would we do that? It's so confusing. And she said, just to be cute. And Chris is not okay. He doesn't want to do this. He does it for her. He says it's an appeasement to the production. As he said, like, I don't want to do this, right? He does it, and he says, I'm only doing this for Nicole. And everybody is just looking at her like, Nicole. I'm really curious about this part of her that wants someone to participate in her like folly, like her silliness. It's almost like, I don't know if she has siblings, but if she felt like she was alone in her childhood, didn't have someone to be with her in her funness, right? But it's like there's this part of her that really wants someone to be in there with her silliness and be with her. And Chris said, hey, we're not doing dinosaurs anymore. We're not doing costumes anymore. She's like, okay. So the wheels on the bus are about to fall off with Chris's patience with Nicole. And I also see where Nicole's need for reassurance and affirmation that he's in this is also wearing on Chris. I want him to be honest. I want him to be able to be honest with her without having a moment where Chris shows up in a different way. Because even as sweet as Chris is, there's another part of him. Whenever we see an extreme part of ourselves, there's always another part that's balancing that extreme in our being, in our internal world, right? So Chris has this part that's overly nice. He's got another part. He does. That is also protecting him to make sure he doesn't get walked all over, right? And so, will that one show up to come at Nicole in a way that he doesn't want, right? Or in a way that may even be hurtful to Nicole. That's truly a possibility, right? But they need to be honest with each other. They need to. It's saying, Nicole, I'm here for you. I want you to know that. And I also want you to be able to take care of yourself when you're having these questions, because you asking me over and over again, if I'm in this with you, if we're going to have the living situation fixed before decision day, all of this is becoming wearing for me. And I don't want to be in a space, right, where I have to have these conversations, but I also want to be honest with you, because I also don't want this to be a place where it becomes resentful and it begins to tear away at our relationship. Like, he can be honest about how this is causing him distress and how he doesn't want to bring it up because X, Y, and Z, right? There's a way to truly be honest about the full picture instead of just saying, stop asking me all these questions, right? Like, there's a way to honor his feelings and honor his feelings for her while still being vulnerable about and honest with her about how these behaviors are impacting him, right? Do I feel like this couple is still going to say yes on decision day? Yes. Do I feel like they have a lot of work to do? Absolutely. A lot of self-work they both have to do, as every couple does. Just being honest. Every couple does. And I still believe in them, right? You let me know. You let me know what you think about these couples, where they are this close to decision day. I have to say, this season, they are dragging it along, but we're still here. And if you're still here, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, be cool, be calm, be centered.